We are going to talk about understanding long COVID. And our keynote speaker today is Dr. Chattanong Yodwut, a cardiologist in Bangkok Hospital, partner of the chamber. Today, probably, we are going to frame a bit the situation of the COVID, and also from the hospital side, Dr. Chattanong will share some more information that were not available in the previous months. So today we try to frame the situation, better understand. And let's say with no much further ado, I will leave our virtual stage to Dr. Chattanong. Thank you very much for being with us, and really we appreciate your time. And thank also to Bangkok Hospital. Thank you.
Today, I think it is the best time to talk about this kind of thing, because we already passed the peak of the COVID infection, right? And then from now on, we're gonna facing with the thing that we call the long COVID. The long COVID is not different compared to the thing that happened to the cardiovascular disease when you get the infection, because the thing that happened to you when you get the infection, it can be longer than expected, and we call it long COVID. The meaning is that after you recover from the COVID, and then the virus is gone already, but your immune system is still there, and then your body responds to the immune system and can cause the sequelae of the cardiovascular complication after you recover from the COVID-19. So the important, the thing that I'm gonna give a talk today is that I would like to talk about the damage and the impact of the COVID-19 to the healthcare system. Way back to the era before the COVID-19, and then after that, the healthcare system is not the same anymore until now, because even the thing is getting better and better, but right now I think the healthcare system is not the same as before. So I would like to say about the damage and the impact of the healthcare system after COVID-19. After that, I'm gonna present about the presentation of COVID disease. If you learn about the COVID-19 and cardiovascular presentation, you're gonna know better about the long COVID, because it's almost the same. The thing that happened to you when you get the infection is the thing that happened to you after you recover from the COVID-19. So I think this is really important to understanding the presenting of the COVID-19 in cardiovascular perspective, to understand about the long COVID. And the thing that really you might learn a little bit or more about the COVID vaccines, because when we talk about the COVID vaccine, some of the platform of the vaccines can cause the cardiovascular complication. For example, like a clotting system, or the thrombosis inside the vessel, or the myocarditis that come from the mRNA vaccine. So this is I will give a talk a little bit about the COVID vaccine with cardiovascular complications. And the major thing today is that the cardiovascular sequelae, or the complication that we call is long COVID, that happen to your heart muscle especially. And the last one will be the treatment of the long COVID. After you recover from COVID, and then you get the long COVID. So how can we deal with it? Is that can be cured, or is that can be like recover again to back to normal before you get the infection, something like that. So all of this I will talk today about the COVID situation. Way back 2 years ago, right? Because we already has the COVID with us 2 years and more, 2 years and a half maybe, because the first case that we report the COVID-19 is the end of 2019, right? But the beginning of the spreading or the pandemic is the early of 2020, which means 2 years ago. And after every single country got the first case of COVID-19, the most important measures that we use to contain the disease is the lockdown. Until now, the China is still locked down, right? So lockdown is mean restrict traveling. So the disease cannot be spreading from people to people. by restricting traveling. And can I have, yes, I have the arrow here. So if we, when the country locked down and people cannot traveling, the thing happening is that the total number of the emergency department or the admission to the hospital is like really dropped rapidly as I show you here. So, but actually the number of the cases of the COVID admission is not that high, the blue one here. But the healthcare system or the hospital cannot work or cannot operate like 100% because the things change, everyone scaring of the COVID-19 and the doctor get infection with the COVID and the staff get COVID with the vaccine, with the COVID and then they stop working. So this is the I think I would say it's broken of the healthcare system at that time when the first case of the COVID happened 2 years ago. You know, because actually everyone has an underlying disease, right? Everyone had the disease before the COVID. For example, we had there has the hypertension, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high sugar, diabetes, or whatever that happened before COVID coming. So all of those diseases can cause the cardiovascular complication. Without COVID or with COVID, they has to they're gonna have the complication of the cardiovascular system, right? The thing I pay attention here is the stroke. Stroke is mean the clot inside the vessel to the brain, right? The second one is the acute coronary syndrome. It means the blockage of the vessel to the heart, or we call heart attack, or the heart failure, and the pulmonary embolism. Pulmonary embolism is the clotting system that happen in the venous system, especially in the leg, and then the clot is going and coming to the vessel of the lung, and then get caught block of the vessel in the lung. We call it pulmonary embolism, and as the resulting of the cardiac arrest, all of this can cause the cardiac arrest. The blue one, the blue line here is the total number of stroke. You can see that is higher and much higher compared to the year before the COVID infection pandemic. But actually, the stroke that related to COVID is not that high. This one is the orange one here. And the non-COVID, where it happened, what happened that the stroke that come from non-COVID is much higher. What happened? What happened that, as I told you, because people cannot go to hospital, right? And then they have the underlying disease. And then like the medicine is out of stock. They cannot like take regular medicine. They don't go to a hospital as scheduled as appointment with the doctor. So the happening is that the underlying disease that I have is worsened, and then the stroke and the acute coronary syndrome or heart attack is happened at that time, and much more than before. That what happened. So this is not just only the COVID infection, but the disease that happened before or the underlying disease is worsened at that time. Why does it happen? This slide can show you the kind of thing that happened about the stroke, acute coronary syndrome, heart failure, and pulmonary embolism. That is happened at home. At home, you know, because I cannot get access to a hospital, right? You stay home, or the older people, or the people that are taking care in the home care or hospice, they get worsened in the disease, and then they got the heart attack, got the stroke, got the heart failure at home. So the number can show you here is the number of the death that related to stroke, acute coronary syndrome, heart failure, and pulmonary embolism is much higher than before, this purple one, and it happened at home. So this is what happened last 2 years. WHO or World Health Organization announced last month, I think, yes, in May. They said that actually the number of the cases that come from COVID that reporting from every single country is lesser and much lesser than expecting. or the estimation of the death. As you can see here, the reported cases that have died from COVID-19 is about roughly 5 million people, right? But actually the estimation or the estimate excess mortality in the world is much higher than that, roughly about 15 million people, 3 times higher than reported. What means that the people who has died from the COVID plus the complication of the COVID is higher than we know. Because as I told you already about the underlying disease that get worsened during the COVID infection and the complication of the COVID that cause you like a very severe form and the mortality is higher. So that what happened to the healthcare system in past 2 years. Before you understanding well with the long COVID, you have to know about the presenting of the cardiovascular system in the COVID disease. When you get infection by COVID-19, the COVID infection is directly to produce or trigger your immune system inside your body, and those of the immune system that produce a lot of the inflammatory marker, they cause the damage to your heart muscle. It's not just heart muscle, but whole body. But if you're focusing on the heart muscle, the immune system can cause the myocarditis or the inflammation to your heart muscle. When the heart muscle is wide enough to get the infection or inflammation, sometimes it look like you have the heart attack. It's look like that because you're gonna have the chest pain. You're gonna have like a EKG or the graph that we doing for the diagnosis of the acute coronary syndrome. It look like that. It look like your heart muscle is kind of damaged. It's happened rapidly, so that's why it look like you had a heart attack. But actually, your vessel of the heart is not blocked, but it looks like a heart attack when you got the severe form of the COVID-19. When the heart muscle is wide enough to damage or damage a lot of like a wide area of the heart muscle, the resulting of the wide area of the myocarditis can cause your heart pumping is not working properly, which means it's gonna pump not proper to squeeze all of the blood out of your heart. So that causes the cardiogenic shock or heart failure. So this is really important. When you get the myocarditis, your heart muscle damage wide enough, it's gonna be like heart failure and cardiogenic shock. Or when it happens to your vessel, especially the vessel to the brain, the clotting system inside your body is produced by your immune system, and then they have the thrombosis inside your vessel, and then that clot going to your brain, and then it's called a stroke. The other thing is the venous system. I told you already about the venous thromboembolism, like the clotting system inside your leg, and then coming to your lung, and then block to your vessel to the lung. And your heart muscle, if it is inflamed or had the inflammation of the heart muscle, the rhythm of your heart is not going to be normal. It's like an abnormal beating, or we call it arrhythmia. So you might have the thing like have the palpitation. You cannot breathing properly, or when we do the EKG or monitor your heart, it's going to be like irregular. So this is all the form that happen during you get the infection of the COVID-19. How do you know? How do you know that you have the heart complication after you get the infection? Overall, that when you get the infection and we draw you back to check for the inflammatory marker, right? After we see the elevation of the inflammatory marker, the higher number is the more severe form of the COVID infection. For example, if you have high level of the CRP level, D-dimer level, ESR level, all of these marker is the inflammatory marker. When you get the high number, it's most likely that you get the severe form of the COVID-19. The relation between the inflammatory marker and the marker, especially in the heart, we can test the blood to see the specific marker that come from the heart. For example, troponin level, CKMB, or myoglobin NT-proBNP. All of these parameters, if it's elevated, that means you have the heart damage from the COVID infection. From here, after you get the infection and the heart muscle is damaged by the immune system, this immune system can be longer than expected. For example, if you get the infection, your body can get rid or clear all of the virus within like 2 weeks or not more than that. But the immune system is kind of longer because it can take times, like maybe until now, 1 year, maybe to clear all of the inflammatory marker. So that's why you got the long COVID, because of the immune system inside your body is not subsided. That's why when you have the severe form of the COVID-19, which means you can have the long COVID after the infection or after you fully recover from the COVID-19. This one about the COVID vaccines. They have 2 platforms of the vaccine that can cause the cardiovascular complication. The first one is viral vector, right? Viral vector, as we know, like AstraZeneca vaccine is one of Johnson & Johnson is one of the platforms that for the viral vector vaccine. And the other one is mRNA vaccine. You might know Pfizer vaccine, Moderator vaccine. So this group of the vaccine can cause the myocarditis too, but the number is not that high. I can show you. In the pool data all around the world, we do the meta-analysis to see is there any like a higher number of the incident of the thrombosis or the clotting system inside your body. Overall, for the clotting system or thrombosis inside your body after you get the viral vector vaccine, it's just only not more than 1 person in 100,000 people, or those that you get the vaccine. It's not that high. It's not that high compared to the thing that happened after you get the infection, right? Because when you get the infection, your immune system produce a lot of the inflammatory marker, and then causing the much more higher of the number of the thrombosis inside your body. But interestingly, the number is higher when the people who get the vaccine has the consider a younger age, for example, below 55, especially with the women below 55. And when they get the AstraZeneca or viral vector vaccine, the incidence of the thrombosis inside the vessel is much higher than the reported number that I show you. But this number or the incidence is lower and lower when the people who get the vaccine is getting older age. For example, if the people who has the age over 55 years old, the incidence of the thrombosis inside the vessel is lesser than the reported. So which means if you're younger age, you are a woman, when you get the AstraZeneca or a viral vector vaccine, you might have higher incidence of the thrombosis inside the vessel. But the number is not that high compared to the thrombosis that happen after you get the injection from the COVID. You might know because some of the country, for example, United Kingdom or some of the European country, I think in Italy too, they're not inject AstraZeneca vaccine to the one who consider younger age. So this one is from mRNA vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine and Moderator vaccine. Because when we receive the vaccine, the thing that we expect to see is to reduce the mortality or the severity of the disease, right? It's not 100% like protect you from infection, you know, because even the people who get the booster dose of the vaccine, like 3 shot, 4 shot of the vaccine, still get the infection. But the infection for the one who has like a fully immunization or fully vaccination, the disease is not going to be like a severe form of the COVID. Or I think the number of the people who admit to ICU after fully immunization is very low. So when you prevent yourself get to be the severe form of the COVID infection, so which means the complication of the cardiovascular is less. The resulting to the long COVID is lesser, because the mechanism of the long COVID is about the same with the COVID infection. So if you prevent the severity of the COVID-19, so which means you prevent the long COVID as well. You might have heard about the myocarditis, especially in the younger people or the children, because school-age people or the people who has age about 12 to not more than 20 years old, when they get the vaccination of the mRNA vaccine, the incidence of the myocarditis is higher than the people who has the older age. Especially when the people who have the age over 55 years old and get the mRNA vaccine, the myocarditis is less and less. It's not that high. And the benefit of the mRNA vaccine is to prevent the hospitalization of the COVID-19 here. It's outweighed. So which means the older people has to have the COVID vaccine, and the incidence of the complication is very, very low. This is a summary of the COVID vaccine, especially with the mRNA vaccine and the myocarditis. Way back to the era before the COVID, we already have the virus, a lot of viruses. All of the viruses that existed in the world before the COVID-19, they can cause the myocarditis, you know, because TICC virus, adenovirus, whatever virus that had before, the in natural, they can cause the myocarditis itself. But the incident before the COVID-19 era is not that high. For example, when you get the other virus rather than the COVID-19, the incidence of the myocarditis happened just only roughly 10 to 20 people who get the infection from the other virus in 100,000 people. It's not that high. But after COVID era, when COVID comes to the world, the incidence of the myocarditis is much higher, much higher. I would say in 100 people who get the COVID infection, they have 2%, which means 2 people in the 100 people who get COVID-19 infection had the myocarditis. It's much higher than before. So that's why we have to inject the vaccine, and why we don't want to be infection with the COVID-19, because we don't want the complication of the cardiovascular disease on the long COVID after. So this is change the world, right? Because the number of the incident is much higher than before. And so we're coming to the long COVID already. As I told you lately, because the presentation of the cardiovascular system in the long COVID is not big different compared to the thing that happened during you get the infection or you get sick from the COVID-19. The cardiovascular compromise of the COVID-19 is about the same when you get the long COVID. It can happen everywhere. But in the top one here, 3 systems, in the lung, in the heart, and in the brain, much more higher compared to the lower one here. 2/3 of people who get the long COVID has 3 main systems here that compromise or the symptoms. For example, people who have the long COVID get involving in the lung system, you're gonna have like dyspnea, coughing, you're gonna have chest pain, they cannot breathe properly, like difficult to breathe. For example, when they get the heart problem after they have the long COVID, they have the chest pain. It look like your heart muscle is blocking, as I told you lately about the myocardial infarction, and the inflammation is still going. And then the parameter that we can draw your blood and check for the laboratory, it can be still elevated and high number. And the brain system, you can get the like brain fog. It means you cannot think very good. I mean, for example, it's like kind of retarded. You think slowly. You're not fresh. You cannot do the thing that you were happy before, for example. And the most severe form is you can get the major depression disorder, or you have the sleep disturbance. You cannot sleep well at the night time, and when you cannot sleep well in the nighttime, at the daytime you cannot like get fresh. So that's why this is very important for the long COVID. The lower panel here about the spleen, about the liver, about the breast cell, gastrointestinal, and kidney is considered not very high incident for the long COVID. For example, 3 panel on the top and 2/3 of the disease or of the presenting symptom of the long COVID, and 1/3 of the presenting symptom is in the lower panel here. So if we're focusing on the long COVID with the heart, we can see the laboratory or investigation that can show you that you have the long COVID in the heart muscle. For example, if the immune system is still inside your body and then produce more and more of the inflammatory marker, the cardiac marker, for example, troponin I or CKMB or NT-proB is still high. If you fully recover from COVID, but you still have the number of the parameter of the cardiac enzyme still like very high, this means you might have the long COVID that involving in your heart muscle. Or the inflammatory marker that should be down or should be decreased after you recover, but it's not going down. It means you still have the ongoing process of the immune system inside your body. This is the thing that can predict you're gonna have the long COVID, especially with the long COVID and the heart symptom. Or if you check for the blood and then the cardiac coagulation markers, for example, the dimer fibrinogen level is still high, which means you can produce some more of the thrombosis inside your vessel, inside your body, which means you can still have the thrombosis inside your vessel, and it can cause the blocking of the thrombosis. If we do the echocardiogram, we can see the pumping of the heart and the contraction of the heart muscle. If the heart muscle contract improperly, it means it's not contract that well. Or they has the like a hypokinesia or the slow movement of the part of the heart muscle, or they have like a bigger, it's kind of dilated and the chamber of the heart is kind of bigger than normal. So this is the presenting of the long COVID in the heart disease. Or you still have the inflammatory inside your pericardium or the space around your heart. If the water or the inflammatory effusion, because it's effusion around your heart, this means you still have the inflammatory of your heart right now. So this means if we see the elevated of the cardiac marker, we do the echo and we see the contraction is not properly, or we see the water inside your heart, or some part of your heart is not working well, which means you have the long COVID with the cardiovascular disease. Or if you want to go to deep in detail, for example, we would like to see the characteristic of the heart muscle, we can do the MRI. MRI is where it can see really well or clearly see the contraction of the heart and the accumulation of the immune system inside your heart muscle. So all of this can be evaluated after you have the long COVID or cardiovascular symptom, something that we expect that you have the long COVID with heart disease. This article, I still have like 15 minutes, right? Okay. This article saying that this is only the long COVID, the excess of the number of the people who recover from the light purple here is the era before COVID. And this one is the excess, which means the number of the cases that much more compared to the thing that happened before the COVID era. As you can see, all of dimension of the cardiovascular disease, stroke, TIA, abnormal beating, atrial fibrillation, inflammatory in the heart, or the thing look like a heart attack or ischemic heart, or your heart muscle not working good here, is much higher, and the number is we call it the excess number that we can find right now when we take a look for the people who has a long COVID. So this is the slide that can show you that any kind of cardiovascular outcome is much higher when you get recovered from the COVID-19 compared to the era before COVID. Which means right now we are facing with the disease that happened after the people who get infection with the COVID-19, and much more than before. This is kind of very small, but in summary, if we categorize people into 3 categories, the first one is that the mild symptom, or the people who get infection without symptom or like a less symptom. It's going to be the green one. Yeah, the green one, the upper one. And the incidence of the excess burden after fully recover of the COVID or long COVID is lesser compared to the second category is the hospitalization of the COVID, but not severe form. I mean, hospitalized, but not in ICU. And the last one, the purple one, is that the people who get infection and has to admit to ICU. So when we categorize into 3 categories of the people who get infection, we found that the ICU or severe form of the COVID vaccine has more and much more of the long COVID compared to the one who has mild symptom or less symptom. In all category, I mean, in all kind of the complication of the cardiovascular disease. Stroke, the same picture. The abnormal beating, the same picture. Inflammatory heart disease or heart muscle damage, the same picture here. The people is the highest number. Ischemic heart disease as well. The purple one, or the one who admit to hospital, has highest number for the long COVID. And overall, any kind of cardiovascular outcome, highest number in the patient who has the hospitalization in ICU or severe form of the COVID-19 infection. So the last one, if we cannot if we get the infection and we're facing with the long COVID, what we gonna do with this? Or can we be killed after we fully recover? Unfortunately, right now, recently, we don't have the specific treatment to kill the people who has the long COVID. But we know that long COVID is coming from the inflammatory marker that persists in your body, right? So if we can reduce the inflammatory process inside your body, it can be reduce the symptom or reduce the incidence of the long COVID too. So the thing that we use to treat the COVID, for example, like a steroid, like a immunomodulator medicine, or medicine that we use to treat with the other inflammatory disease rather than the COVID, we can try to give you to reduce the immune system inside your body. And after your immune system inside your body is coming down, so at that time, at that point, the long COVID will be better. That's all we can do. We don't have the specific medicine, don't have the specific agent that can reduce the long COVID right now. But the best thing is, I think, prevent yourself not get infection with the COVID. If possible, fully vaccination is prevent the severe form of the COVID infection. So, and the resulting that reduce the incidence of the long COVID too. I think that's all today about the COVID and the cardiovascular perspective.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chattanong. No, it was very insightful to see all the data that you share with us. And in the chat, we have some comment and a question from the participant. Well, let's start from the beginning. One of the participants is asking if there is a specific exam you can execute to assess the damage of infection after someone recovers.
You mean at the first time that you get the infection, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Let's say probably like an examination that you can do in the hospital to understand the damage that the COVID left on your body.
Okay, this all of the inflammatory marker that we can measure when you get the infection. And it is the same. It is the same marker that we use to test when we will access for the long COVID too. The most popular parameter that we use right now is CRP, ESR here. But for the cardiovascular, focusing on the cardiovascular problem, we're using the troponin I or the troponin level here. The more number is the more severe form or the more incident of the long COVID.
And this type of examination is just through what type of test exactly? Is like MRI, blood test?
Yes, we do have the lab test by testing your blood, right? And then we have the echocardiogram. Echocardiogram can roughly evaluate your heart to see the pumping or the water inside your heart or the inflammation inside your heart. If we cannot see or it's not clear that you have the heart muscle damage by testing your blood or to do the echocardiogram, we're gonna do the MRI. Yes, it's the best investigation that can go deeper in detail and the characteristic of your heart muscle by using the MRI to scan your heart.
Okay, thank you very much. Also, two more questions that could be connected together. The first one is a participant is asking, may I know how many months to wait to get a booster after having COVID? And another one is, does it make any sense to get a booster dose if the actual vaccine do not cover new variants like Omicron? I got 2 shots of AstraZeneca and I already got 2 times COVID. What is your experience and what would you suggest?
Yes, this is very difficult, because right now the virus that we produce, the vaccine is no longer anymore, right? Because we use the Wuhan strain, so which is no longer available. I mean, they're gone already. And right now, the COVID-19 is Omicron, right? And the vaccine is not producing from the Omicron. But, because the variant or the strain of the virus is coming from the spike protein around the virus. But it looks like when we produce the vaccine, we produce all of the response of the system, B cell, T cell, cellular response. And antibody that we can measure is we call it humoral antibody, right? That we can measure the level like 2,000, maybe some people 3,000 or 30,000, something like that, is the humoral. Not all of them that can protect you from the COVID, but cellular response is really important. Even the vaccine is producing from the old strain, but the cellular response is very important. So if possible, you have to booster for the COVID vaccine, because both in humoral antibody on the cellular response is kind of down in the function, is down regulation for the protection yourself from the COVID vaccine. So after you boost the dose of the COVID vaccine, the cellular response and humoral response will kind of get boosted and it's higher than before. For example, if you get the last shot of the COVID vaccine more than 5 months, I think the number of the like humoral factor or cellular factor is kind of not protect you from the COVID vaccine, COVID infection anymore. So if you get the booster shot, it's like a boost the inflammatory cellular response, very important. And if you just like get the booster dose, not more than 5 months. Right now, I think the new strain or the new variant of the vaccine is in phase 3 already, and it's coming out. I'm not sure when it's going to be available to get the booster shot with the new strain, but very soon, very soon. I think you have to wait between, like, if you're waiting longer but you get the infection, it's not good for you, for sure. But if you just boost the dose like 1 month or 2 months ago, I think it's possible that you can wait a little bit more. For example, 2 months, 3 months is okay. It depends.
Okay, no, thank you for sharing. And also we have another question. This is appear to be more technical. If we have to compare the number of incidents between myocarditis from long COVID and after the second vaccination of mRNA COVID-19 vaccine, which one can be happen more in a young age?
Okay, this is a very good question, because natural antibody, which means if you get the infection, if you're fully vaccinated and then you get infection by Omicron, for example, the immune system inside your body is much higher than you get the booster shot. So if you're strong enough or you don't have any underlying disease, you consider it really healthy. And I would not suggest that you get infection. It's better than the booster shot. But the data showing that the people who get the natural infection by the COVID-19 has the higher level of the protection. But you have to risk yourself for the long COVID, right? So I would not recommend you to get infection, but vaccination, I think.
And Dr. Chattanong, may I ask also, from your knowledge, do you saw or have you noticed that some countries use different medicine to treat the symptoms of post-COVID or of the COVID because of the environment? So, for example, I remember at the very beginning of the COVID pandemic, a lot of news thought that the hot country, warmer country, were actually killing the virus faster, while cold countries, have you noticed a different way of treating patients as far as you know?
No, not different. Before COVID, we have the virus that exists in the world, right? But it is coming in season. It's not stay like all the time. Natural history of every single viruses has the natural history of the peak season and off season. In different countries, we have different seasons, right? And the natural history of the virus at that area is different. For example, in European country, when you get into the season of the COVID, for example, in winter or the shoulder of the winter, like spring or autumn, the spreading of the COVID is higher in the incident, but compared to in summertime or when you get the warmer weather, the infection is kind of decreased. So this is a natural history of the virus. It's come peak and come like off peak. So in different world, different part of the world has the different season of the COVID infection. But if you have to come and go to Italy and Thailand, so you might be careful because if you go to the peak season in Italy, for example, and then when you come back to Thailand still has the peak season of the infection. So you have to be careful at this point. But the treatment or the natural history or the spreading is the same, but different time in the different place in the world.
Okay, thank you very much. And I would invite those the participants, if there is anyone would like to ask anything else, you can drop your question in the chat, and I will revert to Dr. Chattanong. In the meantime, Dr. Chattanong, thank you very much to you and to Bangkok Hospital for your time today. I think the presentation was very, very detailed, but I think it's also useful to better understand and frame this problem. And I believe something interesting that you mentioned was the stress that COVID pandemic was actually pushing all the hospitals, the system of the hospital. This is something that we give for granted in many countries, but actually from your slides, it's actually pretty interesting to see this.
Yes, hopefully it will be the same soon. But right now, the healthcare system around the world is still not the same.
But probably we need to adapt and understand new strategy to counterfight this type of emergency.
Okay.
Okay.
They have a couple more of the questions from the audience, right? Is that? Oh, okay. That's all of them. Okay. All right.
Okay. Would you like to give us a conclusion address? We're approaching the end of our webinar. If you have any suggestion or any words of wisdom, let's say, that you would like to share with us.
In the perspective of the cardiologist, I think cardiovascular compromise or complication of the cardiovascular system is very important. It's happened at any state of the COVID, at the infection, when you get the infection of the COVID, it has much more higher number of the incident of the heart problem. When you get the vaccine, you have the incident of the heart complication too. And after you recover, the long COVID has a higher incident on the number of the cardiovascular system. So I think this is very, very important that you keep in mind that if you don't want kind of thing or the cardiovascular complication, I think keep away from the COVID. This is the key message.
Okay, no,
But
thank you.
you cannot protect yourself like forever. Maybe in one day we might have the infection. Who knows? Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's very difficult, but we do our best. Okay. Okay, we're approaching the conclusion. I would like to thank you very much again for your time and the presentation. And I would like to thank also the participants. We are going to also edit this video and make it available online on the YouTube channel. And of course, if you have any question, we'd like to get in touch with Bangkok Hospital. You can also text the Italian Chamber of Commerce. We will be happy to put you in contact also with Heart Hospital Division of Bangkok Hospital and Bangkok Hospital. In the meantime, thank you everyone, and thank you, Dr. Chattanong, really.
Yes, okay. My pleasure.
Okay, thank you everyone. Have a good day.